All right, everybody, welcome back to the Damn Podcast. I am Matt Bamonte, joined as always by David and Austin. We are not live this time. Austin finally made it home after I picked him up off the floor from drinking, so that's very nice. The cops were not called on us or anything like that. Everybody made it home safe, which is great. So that's a good start to the pod and a good ending for last week's, which was a lot of fun. So I appreciated you guys making the drive out and all that stuff. Is definitely was a blast.
Yeah, it definitely was a good trip for me, and it's good seeing you guys in person. So yeah, it was awesome.
That pop-up chicken was so good.
Oh, dude, yeah, pop-up chicken is a banger. I tell everybody about that place. So I'm glad we got to go there and witness it, and you guys actually could, verify my claims, which is great.
Super good.
Good deal. Okay, guys, so we got a jam-packed episode here. We wanted to do a little bit of some different stuff here tonight, too. I had mentioned talking about the actual F1 season as well as part of our podcast. And again, we'll do this usually on like a Thursday night or so. So we'll be able to kind of lead in, and it will be spoiler free, because everyone who wanted to watch the race will have watched it hopefully by then. Usually I just give it like 24 hours and then it's all bets are off. If you cared enough to watch the race, you're going to watch it within 24 hours. If not,
get your head in the game.
Yeah. Figure it out, dude. So anyway, so real F1. So I want to start with the big thing, the elephant or the Red Bull in the room. The drama from that is like absurd. It's just like spiraling way, way beyond like my wildest nightmares or whatever you want to call it. I didn't think. I don't know what I thought was going to happen. I thought like Horner's going to get fired, or it's just gonna like he's gonna be in quotes absolved of whatever, and that was just like the end of it. But somebody's pissed. Maybe it's Jos Verstappen, maybe it's somebody else, and they're just like dropping this giant Google Drive full of photos and shit. Man, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, let me first start by saying, as a Mercedes fan, it's extremely pleasant to watch. I enjoy it a lot. It's better than watching them on track for sure. It's crazy because this is what I kind of realized. As much as we have dove into F1, as much as I think really anybody can in this amount of time, there's nuances within a sport. I always compare F1 to like what I know about football, just because that's what I know the most out of the sports. And something that I don't know how to gauge it with F1 is like how realistic some of these things are as far as like happening. Like Lewis to Ferrari is crazy, right? So then you think, all right, that's as crazy as it can get. So then when you, just like you, like when you see all this stuff with Horner, you think, well, this is probably going to subside here pretty soon. Like nothing's really going to come of it. They've already kind of put it under the rug. And then like this Google Drive thing comes out, and it's like, you don't see stuff like that in a lot of other sports. Like that's something where it's just like, well, I can't say I was ready for that. And I scrolled, there's no nudes in there. I already checked. So unfortunate. But no, I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, this is so wild to watch. And we always talk about like, if I were to just turn on an F1 race and not know anything about it, it would be pretty hard for me to get into the sport. As much as we joke about it, this is why we tell guys to watch Drive to Survive and stuff like that, because this is what makes the sport what it is all the stuff surrounding it.
Yeah. What do you got, Real? You're going to say something?
Well, I just, I have been kind of enjoying following it because, like you guys, I thought this whole situation was gonna just kind of be done with, really, with Horner. And now we're talking about the possibility of Max being on a different team and shit. Like
being in Mercedes, that's insane.
It's absolutely insane, and it's kind of got me excited for Drive to Survive next year now.
The episodes have written themselves at this point, right? Like there's so many.
Great.
Dude, we're watching a guy talk about switching teams and going to a car that we know is at best the third fastest car on the grid. And the last time he's lost and like not won a race was like Miami of last year. That's insane.
It's nuts. I will admit also that I shamelessly looked through for Christian Horner dick pics. I found none, unfortunately. Yeah, I'm just like trying to see, trying to get a good wank, mate. I read all those texts, by the way, in Christian Horner's voice, which makes it even more fucking hilarious. So if you haven't done that part, you might want to go back and read them in Christian Horner's voice. It's sad. It's comical in a sense, but it's also sad. all the shit that's happened and the cover up and all
But
this
you know
stuff.
what I love
It's just
about
crazy.
what I love about that though? This is something that Drive to Survive doesn't capture. I see that and I think this guy's one of us. He's one of
One
the
of us.
boys. I go,
Yeah.
he is one of us.
Yeah, what kind of leggings are you wearing or whatever the fuck he's talking about? I'm like, yeah, this guy
Yeah,
fucks, dude. This guy
he gets
fucks.
it, dude. He gets it.
Oh my god. So, anyways, that's the Red Bull thing. We'll do a quick little Bahrain recap. If you
Yeah.
guys don't own, if you don't have F1 TV, F1 TV is awesome. I know I sold Jordan. F1 owes me at least $1 off that. I sold Jordan on it. The way that they do the onboards and all the other stuff is cool. Obviously during race, but it's also sick because you can watch these things called Race in 30. So if you don't want to spend an hour and a half watching, Race in 30 bundles it up really, really nicely. MLB TV does that too. Like I watch condensed Yankees games a lot if I, for some reason, don't watch the game. But it gives you all the highlights in 30 minutes. So make sure to check those out if you haven't. My big highlights from Bahrain, couple things. The one thing that I noticed was like the Ricardo versus Yuki Tsunoda drama is. I was like, it's gonna take a few races before the shit really gets popping off. You know what I mean? Like Checo has to have some bad races before they start like pressuring, and those guys really push too much, and they get pissy with each other. But dude, literally from mid race on, it was just complete like chaos on their comms. If you listen back.
I think that Ricardo, like and I don't know, but I think from between Drive to Survive, kind of how he's driven and kind of the attitude he's had towards it, it just, at least from my perspective, I feel like he is walking in there like, okay, I'll do this song and dance and get used to the car, but like we all know you guys want me back in that seat. I want to be back in that seat, and this is where it's probably going. And Yuki's just kind of like in the way of that. Like Liam Lawson doing pretty well is just kind of in the way of that. And he's like, let's be real, I'm the guy who should be in that seat. Like, and then Yuki has been doing what he's supposed to do, albeit not as at a fast a pace as like what you'd like to see out of a guy who's going to be in a Red Bull seat. But he's just doing the same thing every year, and every year they try to bring in somebody else who can do it a little bit better because they don't actually believe in Yuki. And I think he's starting to understand that too. And then again, Liam Lawson comes in and outdrives somebody in the same car in his first freaking time in the car, his first 2 or 3 times in the car. And so he's frustrated too. So it's like, I think everybody just like assumed it was their seat and is just pushing as if it is.
Yeah, really got any thoughts on the Red Bull, the continued AlphaTauri or the Racing Bulls drama?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just from watching in the race, I mean, I kind of felt for Yuki in his situation when they were telling him to let Daniel through. At least when I first heard that they're telling him to let Daniel through, just because it seemed like really fucking poor timing for that to be. I mean, he was really close to Magnussen, like that made no sense. And then by the time he did let Ricardo through, it just fucked everything up for them. They had no shot at getting Magnussen from there, but it was fun to sit and watch and listen in on all that shit because it was just really poorly managed.
Super bizarre.
Bahrain, and unless a Ferrari or a Red Bull breaks down, Bahrain isn't that exciting of a track, and I feel like we got a pretty exciting race for the first race of the season.
Yeah,
so that was fun.
For sure. So thinking about what you said, David, about the Red Bull / Racing Bulls Academy, all that kind of shit. Imagine going from next year we're going to have Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz to having to run back Checo Perez because you're fucking stuck, and having a terrible Daniel Ricciardo come race next to Checo Perez as your 1-2 driver, dude. Like, man, what a fall from grace that
what
would
be so funny though is what would be hilarious is if that all happened and these drivers really left, but then you have one more year of these regs, right? And so they just they have Checo and like Ricardo and they fucking win the championship because that car is still just a fucking half a second in front of them.
That would be pretty fucking comical, that's for sure. All right. Any other big things from Bahrain you guys want to talk about? That was the big ones for me, I thought.
I thought I was gonna do just a quick synopsis of the top few teams. Obviously,
Sure.
Red Bull is far and away from everybody. I honestly think that both the Ferrari and the Mercedes kind of underperformed. I think that car's a little bit better than what it looks. I think this is one of McLaren's worst tracks historically, so I think McLaren is right in that mix as well. Thought Aston Martin disappointed a little bit being behind that group rather than right in the middle of it. And overall, I thought Sainz drove a hell of a drive. Leclerc drove great after he figured it out. Russell had a good drive, and Hamilton was a little disappointing.
Yeah, I'm with you. Not to make excuses for Aston Martin, but Lance Stroll got
what a drive, dude!
Yeah, that was definitely underrated. Everyone likes to shit on Lance Stroll. I gained a lot of respect for him after the
he just
episode 1
crushes
of
BAHRAIN
DTS.
every year.
Same.
Yeah, I mean he had broken hands and toes, and like the guy ran really fucking good last weekend in spite of getting hit off the track by no fault of his own, and he ran really well afterwards. And I think it was Painter who was in there was like, oh, like Lance is getting gapped by his teammates. Like, well, that guy is a world champion. Like, that's gonna happen. I mean, Lance is maybe not like a A tier driver, but he's probably close to B tier for me.
I agree, but he does this. I feel like he starts out and does this, and then all of a sudden he's going to take 17th while Alonso's taking 4th in 3 rounds.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. It's just that one really stood out to me. I'm with you as far as the stuff with like Leclerc. Like they went back and they're figuring out whatever the brake. There's like 100-degree brake difference between the balance, so he was fucking lighting them up every corner. I was getting kind of pissed. And then I think what happened, to be honest with you, is they changed a different tire compound and they got added dirty air, so they cooled it down a ton. And I think that it really served them. Not many people ran on medium tires either, which was very bizarre.
No, the mediums are. So I was listening to a podcast this morning. The mediums are pointless there because they are no faster at all than the softs, and they don't last as long as the hards, obviously. Or they're no faster than the hards, but they die out faster.
Right. So I was thinking like once they get to a track where it's not Saudi Arabian, or 1,000,000,000 degrees, like maybe the mediums. Maybe the Ferrari's built to run on mediums and hards.
I think more. I think probably a little bit more than what he'd like to admit. Like, let's not forget like how high pressure it is and like what they're fucking doing. I mean, I think it could just be as simple as like it just took Leclerc a few laps to kind of like not that all those were just mistakes, but it was kind of like fuck. Okay, now I'm doing better. I'm getting in a groove and I'm good. Like that, just those little lockups could just be him like getting used to. It's a brand new car every year they come out. Like it's not just easy to hop in front of 20 fucking guys.
I get that. It's just it was like
I think it's a mix of both is all I'm saying.
Yeah. It was like every corner, and they just had 3 days of practice. Like you'd figure they had something figured out, but who knows? Cool. Any other big highlights from the race for you guys?
All I had left that you guys didn't hit on was Bottas's super long pit stop.
Oh my
God.
That
dude is just super unlucky.
Yeah,
it's insane.
So the race podcast is the guys who use that Grid Rival. They use it for their podcast, and everybody that listens can play against them essentially. And so I really like listening to those guys. They're very good. And they do a whole segment about Bottas being unlucky all the time. And that's what they talked about from this. They're like, dude, literally round 1, we're right back to him just getting super unlucky.
Insane, yeah.
Dude, I don't know how I've watched that pit stop probably like half dozen times at this point. And they just look so fucking confused. Like, because they go off with one tire. And then, as you guys know, you can't intermingle sets of tires. So they're like, the guy walks back up with the tire and he's like, well, what the fuck do I do now? Like, they were just like so confused, man, which I'm sure added extra time. And Bottas is literally just sitting there like, God, my balls are so hot. Please let me get started again so I can get some air in this thing. Yeah, poor dude. That's pretty brutal stuff. Yeah.
What that makes me think of is like we obviously do this league. We are fans of F1. We do fantasy, like all this stuff. And we like feel like we have such a good understanding of it. If you put us in as a pit crew for one race, that's exactly what we would look like. We could
I'm
not
sitting in the chair.
survive. I could not survive one
Yeah.
pit stop.
Yeah, dude, I'm sitting in the chair. It's too hot. I'm already too hot in the fucking race suit. And the helmet's not ever coming down the visor. Get me out of here. Absolutely.
Oh,
It's
man.
big true. All right, cool. So good. I'm glad we got to talk a little bit about the race that was there. Obviously, they're going back to Jeddah, which is a really fucking awesome track. We talk about the qualifyings being awesome. That is certainly one that doesn't disappoint.
Who's your very quick, so we can get on to our league top 3 for Jeddah? Go.
Yeah. So hold on one real quick before I do top 3, and I'll give you guys like 10 seconds.
Cool.
If you didn't watch the Jeddah qualifier from 2 years, I believe it's 2 years ago, make sure to go watch it. This is for Jordan, who just got F1 TV. Go watch the Jeddah qualifying from the last 2 years. It's actually fucking insane. So go watch those. That's the one where Max is like super tight on the wall, if you remember correctly, guys. I won't ruin it, but it's insane.
I just made him watch Brazil 22, the George
God,
Russell
your
win.
favorite race. So top 3. Yeah, top 3. What am I gonna pick? I'm actually this is gonna be a crazy one. Okay. I'm gonna pick Charles Leclerc number 1, Max Verstappen number 2, and number 3, Kevin Magnussen number 3.
Oh my God! For
dude.
Q1?
No, for the big money, dude. Big money.
Holy
That
moly.
car. So here's the reason. There's mad long straights in that course, and that car was the fastest straight line speed of all the cars, out of all of them last weekend.
All right,
Just
I'm
so
gonna
you know.
say I cannot follow that up.
Sure can.
I'm gonna say I actually was gonna say it's a perfect duplicate of BAHRAIN, but now I definitely can't say that. So I'm gonna say Perez fucks up here because everybody expects him to do good because he does do well here, and then it is gonna be Verstappen, Sainz, Leclerc.
Oof.
God darn it. I literally had the same mindset too. I was like, Perez is going to probably screw up here. So I've got Max, and then I'll go Leclerc, and then Sainz. It was
Do you have
literally
Max winning in a Mercedes or a Red Bull though?
Oh, either one doesn't matter. Give him whatever.
Yeah, he's going to win in most cars. So
yeah, both. He could switch after the pit.
The Magnussen thing is kind of funny, like a tongue-in-cheek thing. What I really hope happens is that the Ferraris are able to sandwich Max at one point this season. I think I mentioned, because like I want that car to drive around fucking hot air instead of out doing whatever he's doing, just like hanging out, watching the leaderboard, watching the boards, doing some pit stop practice. Like I want to see the dude race, you know. So that's my hope. That's my hope. All right, cool. So let's talk a little bit about Austria, if you want to do that, which I do. The sprint race, it is our second and final sprint race of the season. Guys, what's your gut feelings on the sprints? Did you like them? Did you on the fence? Did you hate them? How do you feel?
I love them, but I love that we don't have more of them. Like I love doing it this many times. It adds to it. There's more points. It shakes things up. But then like that's it. It's not going to be like a mainstay of the league or anything.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm glad it's minimal, but it's a lot of fun when we do it. I had a miserable time at Australia the first time, so I had a bad taste in my mouth. But going into Austria though and doing it was, I thought it, for the most part, people drove pretty well in it, and I enjoyed it. So no problem or no issues on my end at all with it.
All right, good. I'm all the way out on these fucking things. I hate them. I'll say like it just promotes like a driving style that I don't love, and that's fine. Like that's fine. If you want to run it you want to run it down for 11 laps, that's cool. But like it forces like really bad habits, in my opinion.
I also think this track, encourage. Like I definitely think this track exacerbates that exact problem.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. It just the over aggression is like a miserable habit, and that really, really shines like a place like this.
Yep.
Place like Monza. You just sprint race at fucking Monza, like nobody's making it out alive. I'm sorry, there ain't no way. So that's how I'm on the sprints. It's obviously something we'll revisit. Go ahead.
I was gonna say with Austria. I mean, I can understand feeling that way because that's exactly what I was anticipating before we went into it. I was really nervous about it, but I got lucky and was able to kind of get into clean space without anybody too really around me at all most of the race. So I mean, for me it was enjoyable, but I could definitely see where you would think the opposite, especially on that track.
It's my own fault probably because I qualified shitty. I mean, that's my own fault.
Well,
so I'm like in the back.
I was gonna say is that I felt like it was. I feel like I agree with you when we were in like pretty much at like the starts of safety cars. Like I think when we're in big groups, that was more rough than what it should have been with guys pushing harder than they should have. But I do think that whenever we spread out on track, I think guys were pushing guys. But I thought, from what I saw at least, that it was like a healthy amount. Like, I mean, at the end of the day, like when you get one-on-one with somebody or you're in a pack of 3 or 4, like, I mean, you're there to beat those other guys. Like, you're still going to fucking push and try to take first. I think it's like when we're in big groups going around one turn, it's like everybody's looking for what angle they can take to squeeze through rather than just like, dude, you can get through a turn and fucking catch right up to everybody. Like, especially turn 3 going up that hill to the hairpin.
Yeah.
Let's say you come through turn 1 behind everybody, or like you just go through slow and you end up in the same exact position where you went in. Everybody's bunched right back up in turn 3, dude. It means nothing. Like, you can make up those times. I promise you.
Yeah, it's just something we got to get better at as a group, and that's fine. It just takes time.
Yeah, 100%. You got to remember, we always have like brand new guys on the grid, and like, dude, back when we were new, like we were not that fucking good.
Yeah, I will get to that part. I have something in store for us for that. But yeah, I think that's good. Again, the sprints are something we were kind of testing this season. I assume that they'll be back. I don't think anyone is as against them as I am, which is fine. But again, we'll figure it out for next season, and we'll see where we're at.
Yep.
As far as the main race goes, congratulations, Keaton, for getting a W there.
No more dry spell.
Yeah, exactly. And then big old double podium for McLaren. So figuring it out. I think Pete won the sprint, correct? I believe that's correct.
Yep.
So Pete wins the sprint, ends up 3rd place, and then Adam, his teammate, picks up 2nd. Pretty quick for the McLaren boys this week.
Dude, that's huge. And like, I feel like there was the podium of relief this week because you had like, I don't care what Keaton says, he still fucking cares about how he does. And
yeah, he's bullshitting.
We watched this guy Honey Dick for fucking 4 seasons now.
Right.
He went a long time without actually getting a win. He's always good, but went a long time without getting a win. He finally got a win, and then McLaren was like one of the most hyped teams all season, and it was like it felt like for the longest time that they were just never going to get anything going, and now all of a sudden they're like in the fucking mix. Like, it's completely different.
Yeah, they definitely bought themselves some breathing room. They're up to 86 points, which is really tight with Aston Martin at, I believe, at 100. So again, you're within a race at this point. So big old disaster-ish kind of race for Aston Martin though. So Painter gets 2nd in the sprint, and then has an unfortunate incident and crashes out in the main. Luckily, Doug was able to get 12 points and kind of save that race weekend for Aston Martin, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I think that we kind of talked about this before we started. It's like we kind of had everybody that was scoring points here and there really jump up to the like the 5 through 10 kind of jumped up to the top 5, it felt like this week, and everybody else fell back out of that. And it just shows you how fast this grid can become insanely close. Like, just a few guys pick up some big points that haven't really been scoring a ton. And you have, McLaren 86 points and immediately in 3rd place now.
Yeah.
Alpine drops. Williams goes up. Mercedes goes down. Like, it's big changes. And then you have Keaton jumps up to 2nd in the standings. That drops me, Barrett, and Painter. Pete and Richard both go up. Brills goes up. You and Tyler both drop down. Like tons of changes just because 1 week we don't kind of have the standard finishes that we've been having. And it's like the next 3 races could look like this and our whole leaderboard's flipped.
Yeah, it's definitely a good shakeup. The sprint weekends there's tons of points to be had, so I agree.
Yes.
There's a lot of shakeups on those weekends, which is good. I think it's a fine deal. And again, just because you win the sprint doesn't mean you're going to win the race. As you can tell, like I said, Pete wins the sprint, ends up third, which is a good conversion as far as I'm concerned. Like again, Painter second and just doesn't finish. There's people that finished. I think Richard finished third in the sprint, and he ended up with like an 8th place finish or something like that. So it's I mean, it's tough to convert always. It's tough to convert poles. It's tough to convert sprints. It's not easy once you're in front. I promise that.
I know that with this being our last sprint of the season, we have 2 fulls left, which the fulls are still the standard points. I think if there's anything that anybody can look at this and learn, it's that if we run sprints next year, if you're somebody who, you practice as much as you can, you get it in when you can. If there's one time to be like, hey, I'm going to take an extra day and really practice and try to do well here, the sprints make up a ton of points.
Yeah, I totally agree. Cool. What else you got on? Bless you. I think that was a sneeze. Bless you.
Cough. Sorry.
And any any big thoughts on Austria? Real? What do you got?
Just kind of piggybacking off what David just said, as far as the sprints go, like in my situation personally, I was able to come away with 2 points out of it, which made up for faulty end of my race where I was in the points and then had some things happen right at the end of the race where it knocked me out, but I didn't feel too necessarily bad about it because I was able to snag some points in the sprint since it was a track that I felt somewhat fast at.
Yeah.
That was one other thing I wanted to say is that so Jordan, we've kind of talked about before, he's been practicing a little bit more. He's been really diving in kind of lately. I saw him. I didn't see him at all in the sprint. I didn't know what happened. And I saw him in the race because literally turn 1, we're coming out of turn 1. He gets hit. He sent me the video. There's just nothing he could do. And it wasn't really anybody's fault. It's just his front tire got caught in with somebody else's back tire. And when they took off, it spun him off. And he literally just hit the wall on the very first turn of the race and was out.
Yeah.
And so I was like, God, dude, that just like we talk about, you dive in, you put in the practice. That's when you get fucked. As soon as the race is over, I message him. I'm like, dude, I saw you go on the wall. That sucks. Immediately, he's like, dude, that sprint was so much fucking fun. He was like, I was like driving around Barrett for a while. We were kind of having a back and forth. It was the first time where he was like, I was actually fucking driving and competing on track with you guys. And he was like, I don't like, yeah, it sucks about the race, whatever. He was like, that was the most fun I've ever had playing this game. He was like, I'm so stoked. So that's awesome. Yeah, that stuff's awesome to see.
That's good. Cool. I don't really have anything else. Do you have anything else from Austria, guys? You two?
Just big shout out to McLaren and that just stepping up because, like I said, they've been kind of under the gun all year, and that was a huge full weekend for them essentially.
Yeah. The only other thing I had was it was cool to see Rich back on the grid. Maybe not cool for me. I raced the fucking half hour around him, but but it's, dude, I'm telling you what, nothing gets you going quite like having a battle that long with somebody, and like. It's again one of those things like on my pod when I talked about like being able to set stuff up and you're thinking ahead. Like I was just thinking ahead the whole time, and what's cool is I knew Rich was doing the same thing.
Yep.
And it's just literally a strategy battle, and Rich's tires failed him at the end, and that was kind of my hope, and it was just a battle both like on the track physically but also mentally to know like what we're doing, who's saving battery. I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? So that kind of shit, the chess match there is super fun. Once you get people that are like on your same level, like of thinking and stuff, that's where it gets really sweet to me. The chess matches on the track.
It makes it incredibly fun. And I think one of my favorite aspects of it is with all of us being in the Discord, with us having like podcast and the guests and all that stuff that we do is that you kind of get to know the people and can kind of think about how they're playing it. Like, I definitely feel like I know the way different people drive, and I can kind of know what to expect them to do and what to expect them to try. And yeah, just like you said, you're constantly, you're bluffing. Sometimes I try to, act like I'm passing guys just to get them squirrely and drop back. And you know what I mean? It's just like you said, it's all a chess match. It's a lot of fun.
For sure. Cool. All right, so that is Austria. I'll put a bow on that. I'll talk about the over-unders real briefly here as we get ready to jump. We'll pass through those. One thing I did want to talk about, and I have it pulled up on my phone, is if you're into the grid, we have. So I wanted to shout out the podium for after week 1. So Jordan has 913 points. He's got a lot of money to spend too. This kind of sucks.
Makes me sick.
Paulie has 862 points, and then Adam has 860 points. So that's the top 3 for the grid rivals thing.
Game
and
sucks.
it's yeah, the game really truly sucks. It's fun. I'm enjoying it for sure. Minus me picking Logan Sargent, that was fucking stupid. But I might as well just had an empty contract out there, let some money marinate.
I just picked him up for Jeddah.
Literally, yeah, great, perfect. Yeah, I'm sure he'll get acquainted with the walls really quickly there. But anyways, it's a lot of fun, guys. Thanks. We got a ton of people participating. I want to say there's like 16 or something.
Yeah,
crazy
I think
number
there's
like that.
18.
18. Holy shit! So there's 18 guys participating in there, which is awesome. That makes it a lot more fun, obviously, especially as we get through. There's 24 races through
and
one.
People, dude, more people get in the fucking race chat and talk during the race. That shit is, dude, it's so fun talking with you guys during the race.
Yeah, so again, if you haven't noticed that, also, I'm actually going to make that once we bounce out of here. I'll make a thread for every single race. Sometimes I'll get on in the voice chat, share a video if I'm around, but it's always active with texts. There's always somebody talking shit about Charles Leclerc and how he's a worse driver than Carlos Sainz and whatever else goes on, and then the race, you know how it is. So anyways, there's always something going on in there. It's fun. It's a good time. So make sure to check those out. And it's spoiler full. So just be sure that you're prepared for that.
That's why we do it. Yep.
Yeah, it's all tucked away, so it's kind of like secret stash, but it's a lot of fun. So good. All right, so over unders I said I was going to do, right? So let's touch on these. So how many? I can barely remember. So how many safety cars? There even one? There was one, right? One total.
One.
All right, and then that McLaren and Alpine total, I way undershot 32.5. They cleared that solo. I believe they had 36 points or something like that for McLaren, so they cleared it by themselves, which is cool. Rain at any point, I was actually pretty shocked. It was dry the entire time.
I was happy.
Teams scoring double points for the week. We had 3.5, which we had 1, 2. There's a bunch there. 3. There's at least 4 teams had double points. Four teams actually exactly had double points. So good there. Total number of DNFs 2.5. We exceeded that, I believe. So we're over there. The fastest lap. So it sounds like we beat that, right? I think you posted that in here, Real. Is that right?
Yeah. Mitch Rishko beat it. 132.565.
That was France.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was France. Sorry.
Yeah. No. 106.143 was what Passy ran, and the previous record was
106.3. Yeah.
Yeah, well, the previous record was 106.9. So yeah, that's what I said. There was, I think, 4 of us.
Yeah.
On the grid that beat the previous record.
That's right. Crazy. Yeah. So that's how fast it is, right? I said every point matters. That was a fun one. And driver outside top 10 obtained fastest lap. And the answer was no. Is that correct? Do you remember who got the fastest lap this week? Right.
It was Passy.
Passy.
Yeah. And he was 9th, I believe. Is that right?
I don't. Yeah, I didn't have him in the points.
Okay, so he was outside the points. So good. So that's cool that we changed that rule. It seems like it's working out pretty well so far. Nothing too swingy.
The Passy rule.
Yeah, the Passy rule.
Yeah.
The damn podcast parlay. Will Hayden score points? Unfortunately, Hayden has 0 for the season still.
We're carrying it over to next week.
That's right. We're on to Cincinnati. Double down. So will the winner of the sprint race also be the winner of the main race? I discussed that earlier. The winner was Pete Norris was the sprint winner, and Keaton was the winner of the main race. So close but no cigar on that one. Aston Martin in shambles. How many points will Aston Martin score total for the evening? 23.5. And guess how many they scored, guys? 19. 19 points. All right. So our odds makers were pretty close on Aston Martin being in shambles. They're certainly going to start feeling the heat from McLaren at this point, I would suspect. So that's something to remain to watch as we get into the second half of the season. And the battle for 17th, kind of a funny one. Can anyone besides Jordan take 17th tonight? And I believe someone else took 17th. I don't have the full thing in front of me, but I am almost certain somebody else took 17th for the week. So good deal. So we had a fun, action-packed week. I would say it was a pretty good race. 17th was actually Cam this week, by the way. So
Yep.
So good. So an action-packed race. Definitely one of my least favorite tracks, but it ended up going okay. So I'll eat shit on that one.
I remember I was talking to some of the guys after the race, and what stuck out to me is I told I think it was like Keaton and Doug and those guys, and I was like, this race, while it wasn't like where I hoped to finish at the start of the race, I've been so focused on like where I'm going to finish and what my result's going to be, which I think we all do. But this race kind of reminded me why we started the league from the very beginning, probably because it's a very beginner track, but is just like how much fun it was racing around somebody. Like the fact that we get to hop on once a week and get 20 guys there at the same time and actually battle it out and, talk about it after, a lot of fun. So I really enjoyed it.
I'm with you. All right, dude. So we're at 36 minutes so far, so we're making good time. We're going to get into some other things here. So recapping the driver standings and team standings. I mean, again, you kind of did that day already, David, with
Yep.
in the season 5 news. Again, the movers and shakers you can see with the up arrows and things. The biggest one, obviously, is Keaton jumping up into 97 points right behind Spies. I think we kind of figured that would happen. It took a little while to get there, but now we're there. So that's that. And again, that battle for second place is really shaping up to be pretty good, within 25 or 26 points from Alpine to Aston Martin. That's going to be a good one, man. Again, like France, I think is the halfway point officially, and
next week is.
So yeah, so we're almost halfway, and being separated only by literally 26 points, the Max Verstappen number, is pretty amazing. So we'll see how that shakes out, and maybe we'll do some mid-season projections on the next pod, but just to put that bug in your guys' ear. So that's those. Again, we're talking about how close the standings are and everyone fighting for something. That's the whole thing, right?
Yeah, look at the driver standings right now. I mean, everybody is close now with the guys who moved up. It like really bridged a gap. And we all joked kind of since the start of the season that I wouldn't be able to practice as much, and I would we all knew I would slip out. Like I think I was in first place for a week. Like we all knew I'd slip out of there, and I would just hope to hold like top 5, top 7. Dude, I'm not really practicing that much less. I'm definitely still fucking trying, and I'm just fighting for my life up there. Like everybody around me is fast. Like every time I'm like, oh good, like Painter didn't have that great of a race, or Barrett didn't have that great of a race. I'm like, well, Spies and Keaton and all these guys are right there in the top 5, and Richard and like Pete has a huge race. Like, man, it is just, you're fighting for air up there.
Yeah, I gotta admit, like France, I'm having fun because the track's fun. But I'm not having fun in the way that I'm like not improving on the track. I'm like stuck. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it just feels so disheartening because I know these motherfuckers are going to be fast, and it's like, dude, I'm like 6th at best here if I run really, really well. And like, I just, again, it's tough to win these races, man. That's for sure.
Dude, I think that to get myself to practice more, I convince myself that if you just practice hard enough and just try to race clean and practice more than anybody, that you could realistically at least get a top 3, like from at my talent level, get a top 3 finish for the season. Dude, like I think top 5 is pushing it. Like I think it's top 7. Like it's because, dude, everybody is fast. Everybody is fast.
Yeah. Yeah, especially on a track like that. I have some worries about France. That's for
Dude,
sure.
I'm terrified.
I
I'm
got
terrified.
I got some apprehension going into the week about France and about the way some people like to take twisty turns and things like that.
Dude, with half
So
of us
should
on
be fun.
you got to think we still have some guys on controller, more than half of us probably on automatic, and then the other like the rest of us on manual.
You know what?
That's
Yeah.
3 completely different ways that you're taking those long looping turns. Like that's not it doesn't even feel like the same game between those 3 people, and you have
Yeah.
to try to fucking time it just right through those with those guys. It's very, very and then you take in the fact that we have guys on medium traction control, we have guys with no ABS, we have guys with we have guys that don't control their ERS. It's like it's going to be very interesting driving around people. I think it's going to be about get the fuck away from people and be clean.
A lot of variables. A lot of variables for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Real, how are you feeling about France?
Yeah, I mean, I love France.
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know what it
I
is
do
about
not
the
like
track.
those people.
I've always we ran it. I guess it's been a while since we ran it, but
Yeah.
when we ran it, and I know I got 4th last time we got it, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot with this grid. But I love it. I've had to go away from doing manual. I tried to do manual back in season 3, and then didn't have much time. Season 4, I ran automatic, and then I've just again not a whole lot of time, so I've been sticking with automatic. But I've had a little bit more time this week, and so I've gone back and forth between automatic and manual, and it's weirdly helped. I'll probably still run automatic, but I'm not far off on the manual, and so I don't know. It's helped me gain some time on this particular track, but I think the biggest variable is other people. I can consistently run really well, but that's the biggest variable is what happens in the race. So hopefully
Yeah.
it's clean.
For sure. So I'm going to tell you guys. So that little nugget I left earlier about us being terrible in season, like 1 and 2. Like, so season 2 is the last time France was running this league. And I actually did commentary on it, so that's available. I believe I posted the link somewhere. I'll repost it later, maybe tomorrow or today. Maybe later tonight. I'll repost the link.
Post it with the pod.
Yeah, I'm going to drop it in here too. So what I'll tell you guys, the top 5 from France in season 2 was. Do you guys remember these? Do you guys remember this at all without looking?
No, I can't remember.
No idea. Good.
Until we look at the thing. Yeah.
Good. Well, Real said he was 4th, so that one's unlocked. Okay.
Can I just guess? Ooh, can I try to guess? Yeah.
Tell me who finished behind Real for 5th.
Okay, behind Real for 5th. Season 2. Holy moly. I'm gonna say me.
You finished 7th.
Oh God.
Who finished in front? Who finished in front of you by 1 spot? Who finished 6th? I guess I'll go down further because it's funny.
No. Season 2. I'm gonna say Hayden.
Hayden finished ahead of you.
I told you, dude.
6th.
Nobody wants to believe me.
Not
no
doing
one
it.
wants to believe me. He's faster than me, dude.
Not doing this with you. Passy finished 5th.
Wait till you see how fast he gets. All right,
Passy.
I'm gonna get the podium. I'm gonna get the podium.
4th was Real. All right, top 3. These guys dominated the whole season 2, so this one should be too difficult.
Okay, so I'm gonna say I'm not gonna get them in order, so just give it to me if I get one of them. So I'm gonna say Keaton and Tyler. I'm gonna say Tyler, then Keaton.
Yes.
Okay, and
the 3rd fastest guy by a really good margin in that season.
It's one of 2, and I'm gonna say Rish.
Mitchell Rishko. 2nd place.
I thought it was him or Jeezy.
3rd place, excuse me. 3rd place. So yes.
Yeah.
So Jeezy was 5th. Yeah. So it's a crazy one. The race is a fucking comedy show. If you if you partake, you know what I mean? Like that's a pretty good time to watch that race. If you want to have some laughs, I'll tell you what too. If you're Jordan or if you're Troy, if you're Brett or any of those guys, and you're like, fuck, dude, I suck so bad. Please do yourself the favor of going to watch that race and just being like, holy shit, I would have beat these guys by half an hour. Okay. So just do that. It's a little confidence boost. I'm serious because the grid now is so much different. We've talked about it a lot, and I can't really overstate it enough how different the grid was then as it is now. So,
Dude,
go check it out.
the best part about it is that you can tell how bad we were because back when I did the spreadsheet, we literally have a section for whether or not we had damage on or off.
Literally, dude. It's
Going
insane.
pro, bud. Going pro.
Actually insane. Go watch it. I'll drop the link in the comments section of this, or in the body of this thing. It is really fucking funny. Really funny. But it's a cool little segue too. You get to see like what hopefully if we do F2, what that looks like. As far as my commentary also got better. Like it was also bad then because that was one of the first races I did. And it got better because we had like the voice comms, and I jumped in the chats and did all kinds of crazy shit.
Oh yeah, that was
So
fun.
that stuff gets a lot better.
I'm running F2.
And
I'm racing.
and
F2.
I have really good ideas for F2, assuming it comes to fruition. So go recruit guys, because I want to be able to do some casting on the races and things like that. It'll be fun. We'll have time freed up for graphics and things like that. So good. So go check that out. So that's your history lesson on France and what we have to look forward to as far as that goes. Let's see what else we got, guys. So I mean, we're in 45 minutes in, so we just got a couple things left. So the executive suite was definitely buzzing like usual today. We were kind of talking a little bit about off season. We're literally, I don't know, maybe I'm exaggerating, guys, but like the three of us usually are thinking like a season ahead. I feel like a lot.
Yeah.
So we're trying to like, does this work? How's this going to work? What if we change this rule? What if we tinker with this? What if we change the order on this? Whatever it is, we're always doing stuff. So we kind of were just joking around with each other about the off-season possibilities and rumors. I don't know if you want to touch on them for a little bit.
Yeah, this is kind of my favorite aspect of the league, is just how we try to emulate, at least to some degree, like kind of what they do in the offseason F1, but kind of add some spice to it, reward guys for their position and things like that. So we were talking today about any of the seat 2 drivers that are the full-time seat drivers can opt out at the end of the season if they want to race for somebody else. I don't know exactly. I think what I'll have them do is just like, and I'll tell them when it's going to be broken up into time. So it'll be like, here's the 2 weeks that you have to opt out. It'll be like, just message me if you want to opt out, then I will announce it to the league. So that's kind of how we'll do things. But any seat 2 driver can opt out. And so we were talking about guys that could opt out that are looking for a different place to drive. So we were talking about if Richard could possibly go back to Mercedes to team up with Tyler. We've joked kind of all season about Doug and Spees teaming up. So Doug and Matthew, they are running it back because they won the championship last year. I don't think it's a knock on them, but Alfa Romeo is just very freaking good. So if they don't pull out a miracle and get this championship, Doug could explore going over to Spees, which would open up Painter to get somebody. He's talked about being open to taking like Jordan is a buddy of his. Jordan's improving a lot. So then you start talking about your kind of scouting. Not everybody can just grab a fast guy in free agency. The way that everything's set up, it goes by draft picks. So, it's you need to be looking at hopefully the F2 guys and scouting and knowing who you want to take that you think you could help improve. And we did this thing where the 10 principles are locked in as the 10 principles. And so I think it will be cool to hopefully see us start to really compete with each other as principals, and like trying to strategically take guys that we think we can groom into being a better driver, or guys that you can trade with your team to get somebody else later, and just things like that. Like I think it'd be cool to see people take ownership in the principal status, kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ahead,
just kind of David saying that there at the end reminded me of when we finished up season 2, and then I won top seat 2 driver and got to create my own team and all that. And I remember thinking about the draft and who I was going to take and all that. And I obviously ended up with Bamonti, but at the time,
swing and a miss. The Justin Fields of the draft.
Dude, at the time I was, which I'm surprised that this story hasn't been said yet, but I was looking to go with Paulie because him and I talked a lot, and he was honestly quick. If you look at what he did the year before and in F2 when we ran it, I mean, he won F2.
Yep.
Even though Bamonti dominated at the end. But I tried to look at the drivers from a standpoint of how much more I thought they would improve, and I had no doubt Bamonti. I thought he was going to have the most improvements out of everybody. But at the
Let me
time, I
ask
kind of
you.
thought,
I don't
what's
know.
up?
I think maybe he joined a season later. Did you pass on Matthew Painter to take Matt
So
Bamonti?
so I was going to bring that up because
Oh,
I think he got the Alpha team, but
Yeah.
he was supposed to be available to be drafted. We kind of switched things up. It was supposed to be. I was going to be choosing between Painter, Paulie, and Bamonti, and my
didn't he
original
want to
pick.
stay? Didn't he want to stay with Troy? Because he joined
Uh,
halfway through the season with him the season before.
I know he jumped with McKenna.
Oh, and then
McKenna
that's when he got okay.
Yeah, and then he ended up pairing with Wes. But yeah, I mean, I remember though at that time, Troy kept making comments about me teaming up with Painter, and I'll be honest, like at that time, I was like, hell no, dude. I didn't think he was that good. I couldn't see.
Shout out to Painter, proving everybody wrong.
I couldn't foresee him improving the way he has. So, and that's kind of the thing with the draft is like you can have that. We have guys that are new right now with Jordan and with Brett and these guys that
Austin joining up. Austin's been hitting all of us up and just fucking like definitely diving into. He's another really good one.
They put the time in. You don't know how good they can actually be, and so I felt like I wound up with the best pick possible, and because of things the way they were situated got me to go with Bamonti. But yeah, that's kind of how I try to look at it when I was drafting was what guy is going to improve the most and become a dominant driver in the league. And yeah, I mean you can miss big time or you can hit. So that just makes it all a lot more fun.
For sure. Yeah, cool. Good insight on that. I know you and I've talked about that a lot back in the day. We talked a lot about stuff like that. And yeah, it's cool. It's good to get your insight on that, especially like for people that are going to go into the first off season. So again, it's there's a draft order to it. There's again, like you guys are saying, there's a lot of variables that go into it. Is like, I mean, I don't want to be a teammate with somebody that I don't like racing with either. You know what I mean? Like I don't want to sit in a Discord channel with someone for an hour every Wednesday that I just like. It's like it's like a couples therapy session or whatever the hell it is. Like I don't want to be Yuki and Daniel. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather be like Sainz and Leclerc, pretty cool together. Like I'd rather have like something cool going on. And a lot of like I will say as a credit to Real, a lot of my development is because like I have a good relationship with him where I wanted to race better because of my teammate. Like like there's something to be said about that. Like now it's like for me and Cam is like we talk like once a week maybe. So I don't know if I'm a great teammate for Cam. So maybe that's like some introspection I have to do. But it's like one of those things where if you're pushing like maybe Troy needs to be pushed by somebody, maybe like the second Austin Squared needs to be pushed by somebody, things like that, like you don't know those guys' full potential until they get in with somebody. Like Jordan talks all the time about not racing with Tyler and stuff. Like as funny as it is, like they're teammates, and no disrespect to Tyler, he's a great driver, but maybe he's not a great coach, teacher, motivator, whatever it is.
And the thing is like not everybody's going to have time to do that, and that's totally fine. Which that's why I think we do a really good job of like we all like help each other out and try to make other guys better. Because here's the thing, I was thinking about this because I always offer like Jordan and Austin, those guys, like any advice I can think of. Like anytime if they hit me up asking questions, I try to over answer just to like help speed along like whatever process they're trying to figure out, because I know how fucking hard it is to get better at this game. And I thought of like I just talked about like everybody kind of playing a actual competitive, like try to build your team up and beat everybody else. But I'm always willing to help those guys because at the end of the day, them being better drivers can end up saving me on track. Like I rely on those guys to a certain level. Like, yeah, like I don't want to be in there telling Pete and Matthew, like, during practice races, exactly how I'm taking a certain turn or something because I'm competing directly with them. But if I help Brett, Austin, Jordan, all those guys get up towards our talent level, which they're all very capable of getting to. But if I get them up to our talent level, well, then even if I spin out one time and I'm back in 17th, I'm not scared to death that somebody's going to kill me on track.
You also want like those guys like in the beginning, if there's some shit, you want them to be able to hold up the people that are racing with you directly.
Yes.
You want them to be able to hold them up like when their time comes to hold people up.
It pulls everybody closer together.
Yeah, exactly. So that's good. That's good light to share. Yeah, there's a lot to think about in the off season. Our off season's crazy. So there'll be a lot to see. Speaking of the off season, so we're almost at an hour right now. So we have like the last two things. I'll let you touch on the F2 league as we wrap up. But the one thing I wanted to do, since we did talk about the off season quite a bit, is I want to get all three of us just to give one off season hot take. And I'll start with you, David, just to give us a hot take out for us for the off season.
Okay. I do think I feel like we've talked about that one too much. We've talked about this one a lot, but I do think Spees takes Doug. I think Jordan leaves Mercedes and joins Painter at Aston Martin.
Okay.
If they can work it out, because he has to. We'll get into this in a later episode, but he has to draft them. You can't just make trades just like that. So, but I think that they work it out.
Okay. All right, Real, you got one for us?
I'm gonna go with. Man, it's kind of I don't want to go with one of the more obvious ones, but I could see a world where Pete Norris leaves McLaren, and ends up getting teamed up with possibly Keaton or somebody. And I could also see Keaton trying to implement a team trade to get out of his current team.
He's trading with somebody. He's trading with somebody.
So I see him going somewhere else, and then teaming up with Peter.
Wow, that one caught me off guard. I will say. What's my big one here? So I'm gonna say, and this goes totally against what David said. I think Painter and Doug run it back. I think that's a hot take.
That is a hot take.
I think they run it back because here's why. Spees and Keaton are going to be separated. So the only person that they're really, and this is why the Pete thing surprises me, right? Because those two teams on paper, Painter and Doug versus Brills and Pete, are like the two best teams at that point. You would think, right?
Yeah.
It depends. Again, it depends on who Spees drafts and who Keaton drafts and all that shit. But those two teams are like legit. And I will tell you, and I'm sure that Real has a great teammate at this point with Richard. But what I'll tell you is the grass ain't always fucking greener. Okay, it's not. It's tough trying to get a teammate again that you mesh with and that are scoring double points with and things like that. I mean, look at me. Yeah. I had a teammate for 4 races, bounced, and now my new teammate has been 3 races. Has no points, not his own fault, of course, because he just wasn't prepared like all of us were. But Cam's doing a great job. I'm not knocking him at all, so don't hope that doesn't come off that way. But again, it's like if your seat 2 leaves or you go jump in the draft pool, who knows where the fuck you're getting picked? It's a variable.
I will say it's going to be very, very interesting this offseason because we do have Francois coming back.
Maybe, right? We don't know that for sure, do we?
It lines up with his schedule. It lines up with his schedule. He said that he definitely seems like that if it lines up with the schedule that he's in. So that's the fastest 1 lap pace. I'll put it out there right now. The fastest 1 lap pace on our grid would be coming back. And he couldn't become a principal even if guys got eliminated because he didn't have any points last year. So he will be a free agent. If Spees wins the top seat 2, Keaton will have the first overall pick. I mean,
like the other thing too is like Rish's kids will be a little bit older by then. Like maybe he has more time to play and stuff, like.
And if we if we start good transition here, but if we start this F2 league and everything gets rolling in time, you have possibly 10 new guys that will add. And I'll tell you what happens every time is we'll go add 10 guys that are like, I'm brand new to the game. I'm not that good, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah,
and then there's 3 of them in there that run 75 AI already and then dive into this and get super fucking good, super fucking fast. By the end of the 8 weeks of the F2, you're throwing Francois in there, 10 other F2 guys. I mean, it could be a crazy offseason. And then at what point do you go look at your seat 2 guy and go, hey, man, I need to take this other guy? Shit, like, man, it could get crazy.
Yeah, it's going to get dicey. And I hope there's some drama for sure attached to it where people are like, yeah, man, you got to fucking go. Like, see you later. Here's airfare and all that stuff. Like, we'll pay for the last month of your apartment and utilities, but you got to get the fuck out. That sounds like a lot of fun to me. So cool. I'm glad we got some hot takes. Again, we'll be getting towards the second half of our season here. So we'll be able to look a little bit more forward again. And as we shake out F2, again, go help recruit, please. If you haven't started already, try and recruit. You got a buddy. Maybe I'll get my dude who's the IndyCar driver in iRacing to come over and kill us all. Maybe that'd be kind of funny, wouldn't it?
Dude,
if he's any good.
I came up with one more hot take that I think is worth sharing for the
Okay, dude, light it up.
I'm sorry to do this, but
oh no.
Everybody knows Keaton wants to get out of the Alfa Romeo. He hates the Sauber, and we're going to be on the new game next year.
Yeah.
Matthew Painter trades Aston Martin and Doug to Keaton for the first overall pick to take Francois.
No way. That's so aggressive.
Yep.
Get out of here. Get out.
I think it happens.
I mean, that's a sick trade. That makes sense. That's a good one. But
God, how about that's your prize for waiting to the end of the podcast?
Very good. Get lost. All right, Austin, real, you want anything? Got anything else that's put you in a mental fucking institution to say like David just did? Or are you good?
No, I don't need to get that crazy.
All right, good. So if that happens,
we all know that there's been collusion. Okay, so that's the only way that happens. You might as well be the president of the FIA rigging races. Okay, that's all I'm going to say about that.
Drama.
Pretty crazy. All right, guys. Well, you guys got anything else? Real, you got anything else?
Just check out the spreadsheet if you haven't. I added in a spot for reserve drivers, so we can always keep adding to it and making that better.
Yeah, man. David, anything else?
Nope, I'm good. I'll see you guys in France.
Sounds good. Well, so yeah, guys. So we're gonna wrap it up. See you in a couple days in France. Remember, make sure to set your grid rivals lineup again. If you have people that came off, if you had a one race contract person, make sure to check that. Do all that good stuff. Get on there next week. It's a Saturday race again, I believe, right? For Jeddah. I think that's correct. So jump in there. I'm going to look real quick just so I can give you a better idea of what's going on. So so practice 1, 7:30 on Thursday. Then there's 11 a.m. 11 a.m. qualifying on Friday. That might be kind of fun in the Discord.
Amanda asked me to take Friday off because she took Friday off, and I was like, I guess I can swing it.
I guess. So yeah, I think I work, but I'm going to be sitting in the office watching the qualifying. I'm not going to lie to you about that one. So that'll be Friday, and then again the race is on Saturday. It's actually at 11 o'clock, which is a good ass time.
Love that.
Which is a good time for that. So 11 a.m. race. Maybe I'll see if people want to get together because I think I'm off. So, interesting. All right. Anyways, at that rate, it's going to be it for us, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Just like always, remember we'll see you in France on Wednesday. We're back to normal, so no one-shot qualifying. Will be short quali and the long race. So we'll see you then.